Hello and welcome to the Mindset and Mindfulness Podcast with me, your host, Sandy Powell. So today's guest is Rachel Young, a cellist playing at the National Symphony Orchestra in Washington, D.C. She began studying music at the age of 4 and quickly knew that she wanted to become a cellist. Got to tell me more about that. But yeah, she's also a mother of 2. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so good to have you.
Yeah.
So we met about 15 years ago, I want to say, about like 2009 or so.
I think that's right.
Yes. Long time ago.
When my kids were little ones.
Exactly.
I know it happens quickly.
I know. And I always loved hanging out with your family. I gotta
Aw.
say. It was lots of books. I remember the house was full of books. No TV.
Okay.
Ugh, yes.
Not through any strict doctrine, just we never found time for it. So
I know, but I always loved it. I loved the neighborhood. I loved your house. It was always like this almost like a little enchanted place. It was like nestled somewhere in the
Aw.
woods, and your neighborhood was always so nice and helpful, which is
Aw.
not really a nice, I mean, like an easy thing to find. I feel like in such a big, busy, DC area.
We're very lucky. Yeah. Feel very fortunate to have landed here.
It was really, really nice. So I have to admit, I always kind of looked up to you, kind of like, this is like my parenting, like role model or
Aw.
something. Like, I always thought that was like really cool. You seem to have it all together, which is part of why I invited you to the show. Because I was like, ooh, let's see if I can extract some of your secrets, your mindset, whatever. There might be something that I can use to help.
Well,
Because now you're in the
I
boat.
relied on other people to help me like you. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can think back of like, how it was back then. I mean, you're two busy, accomplished, successful parents. You guys down to earth. You're always super friendly and helpful, but you also had, 2 kids, lots of babysitters, lots of conflicting schedules. Ugh.
It felt chaotic, but I think
How did you guys manage? How did you, keep it together, keep it organized?
I don't know how it was organized. I mean, it's a lot of planning with a crazy schedule like that, but
Right?
I do think there was some kind of just basic grounding. I mean, so I live in a very, you know, well, I live outside of Washington, D.C. with lots of successful lawyers and, World Bank people live around us a lot of lawyers. And so we already are a little bit of an outlier being musicians in our neighborhood.
Mhm.
And we completely feel accepted, but I think it was a little easier to buck norms because we were already kind of odd. We didn't have the daily cleaning arriving at our house, and we don't have a lawn service, and I guess we kind of bucked some of the pressures of trying to live up to that all the time. We're aware of it, of course, and yeah, so I guess in a weird way we could kind of, there was a little bit more permission to, I haven't really thought about this, but to carve our own way. We didn't really have a choice. We didn't hire an au pair, and we didn't have the budget for that, and of course everyone around us had their people. So we met you because my husband spoke German and lived in Germany, and we were hoping to have people help, when we did need babysitters, to be here that fit in with our household, and you completely did. And so that also just, it helped to have things that just felt right to you. It wasn't everyone else is getting an au pair, we'll get an au pair. It was like, we'll do it our way. This is what works. And I think sometimes we need that permission to give ourselves that, you do it the way you need to do it. So yeah, so it's crazy having one very much traveling musician, and then I'm the one that stays home, but I have a full-time job at the National Symphony, which is weird hours, and not here for bedtime, for concerts, and but home after school. So some parts of the day more present for when the kids were little, and that's how we were able to do babysitters and not have full-time childcare. So I think that grounded me too, and being home with the kids worked for me. I mean, the last thing in giving tips to anyone else or sharing is, again, just being true to yourself. Some people just need to not be with their kids all day. So yeah, that's a little bit of the window into our little universe here.
Yes. No, it's also good that you guys were able to, carve out your own, or stay with your careers, right? Like a lot of people or a lot of women, right? They kind of lose a bit of that identity, that work identity, or always also feel very, pressured, or like a lot of stigma around it, right? Like I have to be the good mama, but I'm also like working and I'm trying to do a good job and I'm trying to climb up the ladder and things like that. I feel like this,
I
right?
Yeah, I feel really lucky to have great colleagues around me, and I was able to sort of look around like other people have done this before me. This is not rocket science. There are other women who have been in the orchestra, and in comparing some notes at work, I had observed. I'm just going to say this out loud. I had observed that this is my own little tiny little scientific study of like 5 people, right? So I had observed that sometimes when people were having troubles with their in-laws, it was, I think, through my experience, that their own parents didn't have their own lives. So they were still trying to live their kids' lives even as adults. Right. So when I went back to work, which was hard, I was enjoying my little bubble with my first kid and thought, oh my gosh, I have to break back into that other career place. And I just thought this is good for them. It's good for them to see that I have my own life and that I will have my own life, that I'm not going to be knocking on their door when they're 25 saying, no, that's not how you do it, or I need you to still be my best friend. So that was my little mantra to get me through it. It's not that it was easy. I just had to change my perspective to make it work for me. And it was like, this is good for my kid. It's good for me. I mean, I'm sure if I was able to stay home, I would have been like, this is great for my kid. It's good for me, right? You just have to find the way it works for you. So, but it did make it, it just made me more conscious of when I was home with them. And it did. I mean, I would race off to work and think this is awful, and I'm so lucky to do what I do, because I would get on the stage and think, oh my gosh, I get a time out where I get to play music for 2 hours. Like, how lucky am I? So, but I think just having that mindset that it was good for them, and it is good for me to have that balance and not be worn out. So from them only, being worn out from other things too.
Right.
So yeah.
I can see the mindset coming through. I love it. I think that's a big thing too, like the way you present it to yourself, right?
Oh
Like you
yeah.
focus on the, oh my gosh, and I cannot be here all the time, and I can not do this 100%, and this sucks, and look for the faults, for the problems. Or you be like, hey, you're going the gratefulness, right? And you're like, hey, I get to do both, right? Like I
Completely.
enjoy being you're right, the musician. I enjoy staying with that and being true to myself, and have that break maybe.
Yeah, I think that's
And
completely true. And I appreciate, even just thinking about talking to you today, I was thinking about, you know, I guess I was able to look at myself and say, what strengths do I have? Like, I don't even feel like I have tips to give, or, or great perspective. And then I think, well, actually, I think that was because I was really true to myself and really authentic to myself. And I think you're right, having that always, that, without being false, having that little shift of attitude, like, well, it could be worse, or this is, we're going to get through this, or, just tough it out. And in 2 days, you'll have a day off and you'll recover all your energy. It's okay. Just, yeah, I guess stepping back and having the bigger perspective once in a while, even in the midst of the chaos.
I think that is so important. I think people lose sight of that, and people sometimes do get lost in either or, like the job or the motherhood or things like that. So I mean, and it is a challenge trying to manage both. So it is, I think but it is all a matter of mindset, of perspective. Like, how do you put it? And that's how I get through it too. I have to say, like, I want to be a good role model for her. Like, I want her to know, like, you can do whatever you want it to be. You can, like, you can do your own thing. You can live your dreams. You can jump out of airplanes if that's what you choose to do. You know what I mean? Like, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Like, there's no stopping, because it's just whatever you make up in your own head. And that's part of what drives me too, like to push forward even when things are tough, and even when she's like, oh, and mommy, can you make it a quick one? I'm
Yeah.
like, mommy has to do some work. It's like, can you make it a quick one, please?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's also good for her to have the separation. We call it daddy dates.
Yeah.
She goes with other people as well. And I'm like, hey, I know you're gonna have a lovely time with this and that person. And she loves it too. It gives them, my husband and my daughter, a really good time to connect as well.
That's such a great perspective. I remember missing, I mean, obviously I'm still aware of it. It hurt, but I missed like the preschool Valentine's Day. I forgot what they did, Valentine's Day tea or something at the preschool. And, it was like her first preschool in this big event where all the moms were coming in, and my husband and I were both on tour with organizations. We weren't home. And I just thought, you know what, both grandmothers are going in, and what a special time. They wouldn't get to go in and have this time with their grandkid if I was there. And so it created this really special time for them. And so it was really good to reframe things that way. Yes, I missed it, but when else would they have grandparent time? If I had been available, they wouldn't have had that. So, I think it's exactly having that, just switching the perspective and accepting that, yeah, we can't do everything. And if we get a little taste of everything, we're really lucky.
And I think it makes the time also more special, like really honing in on, hey, I only have this time with you. So I'm going to be extra, like it's going to be quality time, because I feel like some people lose that too. Like they're home all day, maybe, but like what was the quality time in the day that you spent, right? So I think we get a bit more selective in what we're doing with the time.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I felt so lucky. Our kids sort of had the mantra of, at least you're here for the best parts of the day, because that's how I framed it even to them, I guess. Oops. It's like, but we were lucky. Like, I think it's really hard for working parents that get, like, you have to get them out the door in the morning, and then you have to get them to bed at night. And those are your times, and you're always trying to transition, which is the hardest time with kids. And we were really lucky that we could most days pick them up from school and have them until bedtime. And yes, we miss bedtime, but hey, we had the other time. And so again, it's sort of a reframing, but they had it for quite a while. They were like, yeah, but you're here for the best parts of the day. I'm like, great. That's what you think. That's what I think. It works for us.
You got them all involved. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. See, it
So,
all makes sense. It all makes sense. Yes.
but I
But you
think
had the late nights. I remember I got emails about scheduling, like
I know.
the hours, so like, I don't know, midnight or like 4 a.m. and things like that. I'm like, oh my God, why are you up at this hour? But now I'm totally getting it, because that's me too. Like I'm sneaking out and I'm like doing things, because that's just the only time there's really calm and I can really focus on something.
Yeah, I used to get so much done late at night. I probably didn't sleep enough, but it was like I'd get this manic, like suddenly after everyone was in bed, I'd be like, now I can clean the basement. And it was ridiculous. I'd be up till like 4 and then have to get up at 6 to go to school with them. And what am I doing? But it would feel so satisfying because I could get something done, and it was quiet. It was, people are like, well, why don't you get up early in the morning and do that? And it's, well, if I get up early, they're going to wake up early. If I do it late, they're sleeping. So it was kind of my secret time. So
Yes. Yes, I can totally relate. I can
yeah.
totally relate. And the quiet, I think, yes, it's just it's so noisy. I have to
Yeah.
say, it's like one of the things that sometimes, let's just say, chips at me during the day sometimes, right? Like I'm like, oh, if it was just a little bit quiet, because she's always like humming a tune, and she loves to make music as well. So she's like banging on everything. She's like, Mommy, can we, clean out the dishwasher? And then she's like taking things out, and then ding, 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 ding. Like I have like a bunch of dents on my trash can and everything because like she's like banging on it.
Oh, but that's so great. Like, you're gonna
It
remember
is
that.
great. I'm trying to really, really enjoy it too. But there's also moments when I'm just like, oh,
Of course.
I
And of
can
course, in your memory later, you're gonna be like, oh, that was so fun. And we had this dents on the thing, and you're gonna forget like the frustration part of it. And I'll be like, oh, I wish I could do that again. Even though right in that moment, you're like, oh my God, I hope I never have to do this again.
yes, yes. And I've already had so many of those moments, right? Like you never know when it's the last time they
I
do
know.
this or that particular thing, right? It seems such a regular routine, I don't know, like snuggle up in bed and I don't know, have a milk and whatever and look and play with your hair and whatever, And
Like,
before you know it, it's gone.
I
Oh,
know.
just cherish those moments.
I know.
I really do try and like really let it sink in and stay present and just look at the positives and like it's not going to be like this forever. And
And
yeah,
every time I would get a little remorseful, I had a colleague at work who would say, it just gets better and better. And And I have to say it's a little bit there. Like that little kid is still in my big kids, and you know, I they're even better than they were, even though I want it all back, you know? Like you could say those little days were the best days, and they are, but yeah, they're still in there, those little kids. And now they have all this other layers over them too, and they're wonderful. It's really wonderful. So it's a good way to look at it, I think.
Such a privilege to be part of it, to
Yeah,
feel the ride, see them become more and more into themselves.
it is, but it's still hard when you let them go. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
just sent my oldest off to college last month. It just feels like, wait a minute, I brought this kid home, and they're not like, it's not here. That's what I brought home. Why isn't it here still?
Oh yeah, how fast the time went.
Yeah, but I mean, he's happy. It's wonderful. You wouldn't have it any other way. And I have to say for me, when I said goodbye, it was awful. I've never been good at goodbyes. The tearing apart, it just felt like a tearing apart. It was so hard. And I can tear up thinking about it now, but it feels normal at home now. It feels like that's where he's supposed to be. And luckily, it's been a very easy transition for him. He's happy. And, if he were home, I think we'd all be a nervous wreck, right? Because we feel like this isn't right. You're not happy. You're supposed to do all of those things. And it's probably the most beautiful, horrible time in one's life, because you hate to say goodbye to them and send them on their way, but it's good. It's
Feel
beautiful.
proud?
Yeah, proud, and it's beautiful. I
They're
love
ready.
I love hearing about what he's doing and the people he's meeting and the experiences he's having. It's incredible.
So
Including
tell
cupcakes delivered by you.
Yes. Yeah, that's the funny part. We moved all this this way down, all the way to Florida where we live now, and you guys in DC. And now of all the colleges you could have
Ended up in
chosen.
your backyard.
Yes, you come down here. How funny is that?
I
It's really
love
such
it.
a small world.
I'm so
How,
glad because of him we've reconnected. It's so great.
yes, yes, exactly. But how did you end up choosing this one? Was it like did you have like a few, or was there some
It,
reason you just wanted to go?
so Adam really resisted the whole college pressure. Again, like I guess in thinking about this journey, I guess he followed our path of kind of not caving to the pressures around us, though being very aware of them. And he really put off trying to figure out where he wanted to go. We went down to Florida, wow, I guess a year ago, spring break. Is that the timing? Anyway, because Tony grew up there, and we did a little trip to Crystal Springs to see the manatees, and it was lovely. And I think it had been a pretty cold, gray, tough. It was tough junior year for Adam, with a lot of these pressures building. And he was just kept trying to keep at bay. And we had a really great vacation. And I think seeing the natural parts of Florida, he just loved it, and he loves the warmth. He doesn't like cold. So he looked at colleges that had aerospace engineering programs because he knew that's what he wanted. They had to be in the South, and he wanted them near an airport because he wants to learn to fly. And it really came up with Florida Tech and Huntsville, University of Alabama in Huntsville, and he applied to University of Maryland. That was it. So he only came up with 3 schools. He applied to them, and like 2 weeks later, he was into Florida, and he visited, and he loved it, and that was it. So it was actually an incredibly easy process once we started, and he did it himself. He's the one that contacted admissions and talked to people, and so in the end, that was really nice because it was his decision, and he's happy there. So it wasn't us saying you should do this or this is the school you should look at. So yeah, so he's so happy.
Yes, yeah, he looked very happy.
He's got the warm weather, and we get pictures of frogs and alligators, and
they're not everywhere, but
no,
yeah.
he just saw his first one the other day. He sent us a picture and said, "Is this a log or an alligator?" And I zoomed in and I said, "Well, there are eyeballs." And at about that point, he said, "Oh, it's an alligator."
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we went to our first shuttle launch. I think in June, I want to say. Yeah, in June. And yeah, like around there was also like some water. On our way back to the car, we walked by, and then there was the alligator too.
Ooh.
It was like standing there, and like Sophie was like, "Yeah, yet another adventure."
It is really amazing down there. Like we watched the rocket launch and just saw dolphins and, right at our feet, manatees and whatever. It was incredible. So
Yes,
it is,
yes, we're also often outside. Like Sophie loves like all the animals and exploring, and like, oh, let's look at this critter and let's touch the frog and let's I don't know, everything.
it's
So she
really,
loves.
really a special. That's all right there. It's really cool. Oopsie. So yeah. Um,
So you said it's all falling into place. It's
yeah,
okay.
it fell into place very quickly once he faced it, and yeah, and he has his interests. I mean, we're lucky, so he has his interests, and that's how he found his people very quickly there. So um, yeah,
I'm so happy.
yeah. But I think a couple other thoughts that you had sent me. I guess I was thinking about like the way I grew up and how like my just naturally kind of passed that on to some of to my kids was that I grew up in a house where my parents really treated us, I wouldn't say like adults, but like people, like,
Mm.
you know, they were clearly the boss, and not in any strict way, um, but they were the ones that made decisions and things, but they heard us and we were part of the dinner table. We were part of the dinner table, even if important adult guests came over, we weren't whisked away. We were part of the conversation, And I think we did that a lot with our kids, that they're respected by us. And I think that's, you know, and I think it's hard. I think we're all good parents we're all like find our best parenting at a certain age. And we think we've got it figured out. And then the kids keep getting older and we have to keep like figuring out how to parent. And I think you have to keep sort of seeing if you need to back off a little more maybe, or just trust them a little more, or yeah, it's hard. It's sort of stepping further and further away as they spread their wings. But yeah.
Yes, yes. That was something for us too. Like very early on, like like when she was a baby, like you barely just got this new schedule down, like with her like sleeping and feeding or whatever. And then, she would change it up. Like, or he would travel, and like it was like this way before, and then like a few days later or a week later, it was completely different. And he was
Yeah.
like, okay. It's like, wait, daddy, we figured this out again. Like it's different again, let me introduce you to your new daughter,
Yeah.
and the new schedule. Like it was always very challenging, but I think it's just, it prepares you though, because it like you said, it keeps on evolving, it keeps on changing, and there's like little steps back and forth, little give and take, but overall, yeah, it's just it's like yeah,
But I
what
think
worked yesterday didn't work today, and things like that. It's
and I
just really.
think that's a really good sign that you're seeing them as their own people, because you're adjusting to who they're becoming too. That it's, it doesn't mean they get to call all the shots, but it just means that it's evolving. You're right, all the time.
Oh,
Like
yes.
once in a while, you're like, I've got this figured out. Can we just stop and like keep it right here for a little while? Because this is good.
Yes, this was working fine. What do you have to change it?
I still remember with Adam, um, we had he taught us how to parent. He was our first kid, and at some point the discipline that we used for him wasn't working for Kari, and for the number two, and I just remember stopping one day because we were escalating, and I just thought, wait a minute, if she had been my first kid, how would I be parenting? Right, it would be different. And just finding what worked for her, that wasn't, it's like, not what's my discipline, but what is the discipline that she needs that's different maybe than what the first one needed. So I think that was one of those aha moments that,
Yeah.
seeing the second one for who they are too, that they're, yeah. So I think some people think, well, this is my parenting style, this is the way and I guess that wasn't necessarily the way. I think that works in some houses. That's just not what we did. And I think for us, it was more what works with this kid,
Right. No, but that's such an important point, right?
Yeah.
Because I think people just kind of get in the groove, and they go with what they think should work, and then they get frustrated when it doesn't work, right? But
Yeah.
like taking the step back and really like, okay, why isn't it working? And what can I do to make this better, right? Like there's so
Yeah.
much talk about, like, if you're trying to teach your kid and it's not getting it, like it's not necessarily the kid, like you have to change your method,
Yeah.
but that's a hard step, right? To put the mirror back on you and be like, okay, what could I change to make it better for them?
Yeah. And sometimes it's a control thing. Like what can you let go of that's really not that important, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, for me, it was sort of I used to pre-family, I was a little bit of a neat freak, and no one else in my family seems to be like naturally a neat freak. So it was only stressing me out and stressing them out. And, there's a certain level I really am unhappy if it goes below. And
Mm.
I learned that, but I also recognize that I don't need to be nagging them all the time or frustrated with them all the time or resenting them all the time, right? It's like, okay, we just do a little compromise, just lower the standards. It's fine, Like we're busy living in our house. It's okay.
Right. Oh gosh, yes, yes. I think we're still finding that compromise here and there too. Because yes, Selwyn is also more like if it was for him, there wouldn't be, any toys or something. You shouldn't look at this house and it's like a baby house, like you shouldn't see every corner. There's her representation, basically. Like he's very, yeah, unhappy about those situations when there's toys everywhere. So we
Yeah.
try. But I mean, I feel like sometimes, yeah, there's days where I'm just cleaning. I'm like, all day I'm doing and organizing and doing this and da da da, and then by the time I get done, like the first room is already,
Yeah.
empty again. I'm like, like I'm not, yeah,
Yeah.
like it was organized for a minute there, and I'm just gonna go with that.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly. And you're like,
my day I'm
it's
gonna
nice to have,
enjoy.
yeah, and it's like it's nice to have one game in progress that's out, or maybe two, or maybe there are three projects that we're working on that are out. We'll just live with that. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. But like you said, we do have a level two. I do have
Yeah.
at some point I'm like, okay. Like we gotta, before we do anything else, I gotta straighten things up. Okay. We gotta figure a few things out and put them back where they need to go. And then we can pull out something new.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
I guess that's good. And I mean, she even like we actually reorganized her room just a little while ago. And then like for like a month, like everybody that came, she was like, come look at my new room.
Oh,
We
that's awesome.
reorganized it. It's a nice and clean room, Like she was so proud. And that's when I realized, like she likes it too. Like I
Yeah.
think, like she, when it gets a bit too crazy and like you get gifts and you bring things home and whatever, right? Like before you know it, there's just a lot of extra things that you may or may not need.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Even if they don't care at a certain level, it's noise on the brain, the extra stuff everywhere, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely, yeah. I find I need to just kind of I have a separate closet kind of thing where I kind of rotate things in and out and
that's great.
be happy when it's less noise for everybody is it keeps everybody happy. I have to
Yeah,
say. Yes.
I know. To a degree, unless it's driving you crazy to keep it there. Yeah, that's the compromise. It's all
Yeah.
the compromise. Yeah. And I guess the other mantra I fall back on, probably more for me than anyone in the family, but is slower is faster. Right. I use this when I'm teaching music too. Like it's frustrating to focus on one or two measures of music and feel like you're never going to get to the rest of it. But if
Mhm.
you actually get it fixed once, then it's fixed and you can move on instead of having to fix it every time. So like, same thing when you're racing out the door, to remind myself like slower is faster. Just take 2 minutes to make sure you actually have what you need with you, because inevitably if you don't, I'm going to run out the door, I'm going to run back in, and then it's chaos and my brain's so slower is faster is what we say a lot around here. So
Oh my gosh, that's such a good reminder. That really is.
it's a simple one, but I find I go to it all the time, and it's, yeah, as I said, it's probably more for me than anyone else, but
Yes, but I do have to, I think I'm gonna have to use that.
it's good.
I mean, I'm sometimes, yeah, I have to, I feel like Sophie is like, you tell her, okay, let's get ready, and then we do something, right? And then she's like ready, like her mind is there. And I'm like, well, that's good. I usually get her ready first, and then, we eat and we do, but like I still need to get the rest ready. I need to, we're going to the zoo, like means, okay, I have to, get the stroller and I get pack lunches and this and this and that. And then she's like in her shoes and she's like, I'm ready. And I'm like,
Right.
oh,
I
you
put the dishes away from breakfast and I have
I
to
know, it's so bad, gotta prepare for this. I'm not ready. Like, I just wanted to
Exactly.
see if you're, if the zoo would be a good thing to do today, if you want that. And then she
Mostly ready to go.
yes. And then, like sometimes I find myself so like I'm getting stressed, right? I'm getting flustered. I'm like, "Ah, you gotta give me a moment, okay? Because like I'm getting okay, it's getting away from me. I still need to do these things and I still need to get ready. Because yes, one day we did go without the stroller and we do lose things or like, like
Yeah.
it's better. It's slow, it's faster. That's right. So I
Lower
get
it.
like
Yep.
that is definitely a good advice, a good mantra to fall back on. And
But what you
something
just said is
that
also, it's a good reminder when your brain is just full that you're taking care of all of your things and now all of her things. I mean, at some point, I remember I was doing a yoga class and I met with someone and they sat down, they did a little individual thing with each of us and they said, let's talk about your life. What do you want to change? And I said, well, I used to be able to check off the boxes and be done, right? And now I don't even know which boxes I'm supposed to be looking at to make sure they're checked, because it's not just me. It's like these are the kids and it's their friends and it's, work and it's whatever. And
Mhm.
it's not that I want to take anything out of my life because I'm choosing to do everything I'm doing. It's a little, maybe too much, but I love it. But
Right.
it's sort of trying to keep track of it all is hard. And
Mhm.
at that point, I actually started keeping a little dot journal just so I could keep things out of the racing brain and at least down on paper a little more in a different format that it just works a little better for me. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's sort of, but you have to like give yourself credit. I know my mom was like, well, I can't remember people's names. And I think, well, you're keeping track of your friends' names and my friends' names and now your grandkids' names. And, we pile more and more onto our brains as we get older and we think we're still doing the same thing. So it's good to remember, like, yeah, you're not just getting yourself ready to get out the door, you're getting her ready. And just to give yourself that grace too, like, wait a minute. Yeah. You just put your shoes on. That's all you needed to do. I needed to like, pack
And
your
I do
sweater
try
and
to include her as
move it.
well. Yeah, I try, like, hey, why don't you help me with this? Why don't you help me with this? And so if we work together, right, we can get this process done a bit faster. And I try to remind her later too, like, hey, look, if we wouldn't have made this, then we couldn't enjoy this picnic at the zoo right now, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
needed to prepare it because otherwise it wouldn't be here.
Oh,
So she slowly gets there, and sometimes she's like, "Yay, mom,
yeah.
teamwork!
Oh, that's awesome.
We're a good team." Yes, we
Oh,
are.
you
Yes,
are. That's
I'm
fun.
trying to really include her in, all the little steps, because I find, yeah, like if I include her, it and take her along, right? Like she has less of the first frustration. She has more of the inclusion. She becomes more of the independent person, right? That
No,
she
it's
wants.
really smart. I feel like I did less of that than I probably could have, of giving them tasks to help, but also to like to train to make it easier, even if it's not easier right then, because you hit the resistance, but I don't want to, whatever, put my dishes away, or I don't want to, and it's often easier to do it yourself. And I think I fell into that trap of just doing it myself. And my kids appreciate it. I wouldn't say they take advantage of that, but I put myself in that position. So I think it's good that you're finding the time to like say, well, you help and because
Well,
it will get
I
better.
mean, I'm also not doing it all the time, right?
I,
But like, I really do try to really put that mindset on, like, hey, like she really needs to be in that. I need to explain that. I need to show that. I'm also trying to show her, like, hey, I am overwhelmed. I am like when you keep asking me, like this morning, like she's going to the babysitters. Monday mornings, right? So then she's like, "Oh, is it 10 yet? Is it 10 yet? Is it 10 yet?" And it is 8:15 and he asked me 20 times, I'm like, girl, I know you love to go there, but please, like I will get you there. I promise I will get you there on time, but whoa, okay. Like, like
Time to
sometimes.
get her like a kid's clock, right?
Yes, oh, I do have the
Me
little
too.
clock that actually has the little pink that comes over, so she kind of it helps so much. Yes, also with the mommy work, like, okay, I need 15 minutes to do something, and you do something, and when it rings, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Ah.
You're
But
good.
sometimes she found she can dial it, So last time I did like 30 minutes, and I put a timer on my phone so that it would match, and then she came in and she's like, and ring. Like, in like 5 more minutes. Did you mess with it? No.
They were hoping that she's getting that out of her system now and that that's not a picture of things to come for you.
No, we had to talk about fibbing. Yes.
Oh, that's a age too. So
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's fine. It was a good talk, but it's all good. It's all fun. Like
she's
you said, it's all about the mindset. It's all about how you take it. You really need to take it playful, take it not personally, because that's not what they're doing. They're not trying to get on your nerves. They're not trying to test you. They're really just trying to figure out the world. They're playful. They're just
yeah.
they want to hang out with you, of course, right? And of
Yeah.
course they're trying, hey, can I manage time? Can I manipulate time? Can I make this go a little faster? I'm ready. I'm ready to see my mommy. Of course, let's try it, right? I mean,
Sometimes can I manipulate mommy, but mostly they're being their authentic selves. So
no, I mean, can you manipulate
yeah,
time?
but I
The
think also
timer?
manipulating, your parents too sometimes, but mostly you're right. They're just being their authentic selves, and that's one.
Yeah.
You've got a funky kid there.
Oh, she sure is. She, like I said, very independent, she knows what she wants from the get-go.
That's,
And I'm trying to keep it that way, within limits, of course, but I'm trying to not break that, right? Like
yeah,
I've seen other people, right? That they're already like, well, why don't you, limit that a bit? And I'm like, no, I want that. I want that for her. The more stronger she can voice her opinion now is the more stronger she can voice it later. And
yeah,
that might be harder for me right now. It sure is, but it's better for her in the long
yeah.
run.
As long as she also learns that there's a line that you have to be respected on, also, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. But you're right. That's very generous and lovely. That's very cool. Yeah.
Aw. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I see your little
It's fun.
little kitten cat is joining too.
Yes, she said she's the one now saying, you have to pay attention to me now. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, look at that.
She needs some
Cuddle.
cuddles.
Like,
Yeah.
hello. I moved the clock ahead 5 minutes.
Is it time yet? Is it time yet? I'm ready for some snuggles.
And well, I have to say it was fun to have an excuse to like think about the journey and actually and be mindful about it and reflect on it, which we all do too rarely. It's like the reason we sit at graduation and cry is it's like that moment to look at where they've come from and what you've done in your own parenting and your own journey with them. So yeah, so thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, I'm happy we got to talk and have the conversation. And yes, reflection is really good. And like
It
you
is
said, I actually have a little journal too. I think it really helps
that,
getting those racing thoughts out of my head and the constant to-dos in my head.
when do you find time? Oh, this like general journal to write down. I mean, do you actually take a specific time during the day
In
to
the
write?
mornings, I
Oh,
usually
that's
try
great.
and get up a little bit earlier before everything gets crazy.
Good for you. I keep trying to find more time to just write again because I think with just actually sitting down and writing also just helps process things, and I think all of us
Right.
doing that less and less. So
Yeah. Now it took me the longest time. Like I was always like kind of processing things and going on walks and things like that. But the writing really makes it a little different. You see things differently and you can go back to things and you can,
yeah,
I mean, it's everything. It's my planner. Like I write my ideas and what I don't want to forget. But yeah, like thoughts and ideas, things that I don't know, what was bothering maybe or something. I'm
yeah,
thinking about, and there's it's different when you write it out. It's really
completely.
different. There's a different part of the brain that is activated when you write things.
Yeah,
It comes through you in a different way, more clearly, I feel like.
you
And
really process it out. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's a done deal more than if I just kind of keep thinking about it or whatever.
yeah. Then it just spins.
Right? Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
The slowing down thing helps.
Yes,
Definitely.
I,
Whenever I have too many things, I usually try and, be like, okay, what's the most important thing I need to focus on? And just kind of dump all the rest. The rest is not that. And what's the most critical thing?
I
I
have learned with my little journal that I've learned how many things I don't do and just push off to the next day, but life still goes on.
Right.
So
And
it's
there's always a tomorrow. There's
kind
always
of good news and bad news. It's like, well, it's all still waiting for me, but the world didn't crash because I didn't do it today. So,
exactly.
And then I have
Oh,
moments of
some
great
moments.
productivity where I can cross it all off and it feels so
There are days like that too. There are mornings where you just kind of like go and you're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then
exactly.
sometimes it was more like snuggles and being there for your sick kid or whatever. And that's okay too.
It
Those,
is.
that's just the ups and downs of life. And when you look back at it, you want to be present for those moments. You want to be,
Yep.
okay, that some things weren't done, or I don't know, the house looks like a mess. That's okay. Like you said, it's being lived in,
Being lived in, sorry, we're, excuse the mess, but we're living here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's fine. I am definitely there too. It's part of the perfection, or I don't know, like part of society or whatever, that something that you need to figure out for yourself to kind of push back on,
Yeah.
like you really need that. Is that helpful for you? Or is
Right.
that like an extra burden that,
Right.
somebody placed on you? And if it's not working for you, you might want to think about, what can I push back on? What can I let go of? Is it my perfectionism or somebody else's? And
Right. I mean, that being said, when the house gets clean, it does feel good.
I love to live in a clean house too, believe me. But I mean, there's something got to give. The day
Right.
only has so many hours. I do need some, I do need some sleep.
I
And yes,
know.
as soon as I move out of the room, somebody is checking for me. If it's not my daughter, it's my dog, or my husband. Like, I feel like as long as I'm moving and doing stuff and people keep seeing me, it's okay. But as soon as I like go to the bathroom or go to the, like out of the room, out of sight for a little bit longer, it's like, oh my God, where? Mommy, I was searching for you everywhere. Really? Yeah, I went to your room and I went to the office and I went to, and now I found you in the laundry room. Well, things got to get done over here too.
Oh, it sounds like you're doing great though. And you do have a good perspective on it all. So it's great.
Yes, I try to have the positive attitude, and some days I'm also struggling with that.
Of course, we're all
But
human. We have
we're
their emotions in our body and they're okay. That's part of
exactly that's what I'm saying too. Like it's okay to not have it figured out some days, and go back to it, go back to the roots, go take a walk, go do some yoga, go journal, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
You need to figure it out, slow down, right? And
Yep.
then you can go faster again.
Or just push through till you can take time. Yep.
That too. Yes,
Yep.
there's sometimes, yes, where you just gotta, yes, be the quarterback, take care of your team.
Exactly.
No,
Oh, well, your team's got a good quarterback, that's for sure.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yours
Okay.
too.
Well, I hope to see you soon.
Yes, I hope so as well.
Oh,
You take good care. Thank you
you
so
too.
much.
Thank you, Sandy. Bye.
Bye.